and welcome back. This week's project will be to make a vacuum cleaner attachment. It's not that difficult now that you've had experience working with aspects of Inventor, and this thing is actually a practical project that you can draft. So let's get started. Here's the overview. This is the vacuum cleaner attachment we're going to create, and the difficulty of this is converting a round shape to a square shape, which we now know how to do using the loft command and the shell command to hollow it out. So let's these are the steps that you'll be going through. You'll be drawing a cylinder. That'll be the base for the attachment to go on the end of the vacuum cleaner hose. Of course, we'll have to convert it from a round shape to a rectangle, and you'll do that by putting a work plane 45 millimeters from the top of the cylinder to wherever that ends up at. Putting also on that work plane a 10 millimeter by 48 millimeter rectangle. Pretty much will fit inside that circle almost perfectly. You could use a center dot rectangle to draw that. And then, of course, we go to our loft command, which we will then loft from the top of the cylinder up through to the rectangle. And then from the top of the rectangle, we'll add another 90 millimeter extension. We'll chop off 30 degrees off the end of it so it has a little angle to it. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll hollow it out with a thickness of 1.25 millimeters, hollowing inwards, not outwards, making it hollow on the inside, keeping our outside dimensions. And of course, the scoring for this will be included in the project. This will be a PowerPoint and a PDF, essentially the same document. That'll be up on Moodle on the web page. All right. So this is what we want to do. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll start a new project. I'm going to millimeters. Yeah, standard throws me off because it's standard millimeters. We are in metric. We shall create a standard millimeter metric project. And we will begin with drawing a circle at the bottom. That would be this right here. We're going to create this cylinder. So we start with a circle, 30 millimeters. Right there, dead center. Somewhere in there. Of course, we'll go to dimension to make sure that it is 30 millimeters. So I just tap it right there, click on it, click again, and we'll hard code 30 millimeters right in there. Good. That's all we need for this sketch. Now, we're going to extrude this up. I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see it. We shall extrude it up 30 millimeters. It's just a coincidence that it's the same dimension up as it is in diameter. So of course we'll use the extrude command. That was the only object sitting there, so it chose it for us. And we are going to increase the distance, I think I'll do it right here, to 30. No, that's 20. 30. And we'll OK it. And now we have our starting cylinder. Now let's put a work plane above the cylinder and draw a rectangle on it. Alright, so again, we'll back it up a little bit. We'll zoom out what I mean by backing up. And then we'll go from the top of the cylinder right here. We'll go over to plane and say offset from plane. Well, of course, a flat surface such as this constitutes a plane as well as a plane that you add. So we'll click on it and we shall say 45 millimeters because I believe that's what it's supposed to be. I can confirm it. Yep, 45 millimeters. So we'll green check mark it. And now we have a 45 millimeter distance between the top of our cylinder and our work plane that we're going to draw on. So the next thing we want to do is draw a rectangle on it. Let's do that. We'll start a sketch. We'll choose that work plane that we just created. And let's draw our rectangle. Our rectangle should be right here, 10 millimeters by 28 millimeters. Very good. So we'll just choose a 2-point center rectangle just to make it a little easier, because we have a center right there. And we'll just exaggerate it a little bit so that we can put our dimensions in. Alright, so that's exaggerated for how large it is. Now let's add our dimensions. This one should be 28. And that almost put it right where we needed it. So we're still in dimension. That one there should be 10. Alright, and that puts it really close to the corners. The corners are really close to the edges, but just inside, and that's perfect. Alright, so that takes care of our destination extruded shape that we're going to loft to. So we'll finish our sketch. And now we want to loft from this round to this square. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. We shall choose loft, and we'll click our first shape, which I want it to be that rectangle. I got lucky there. Sometimes you get the whole circle, and when you do, you need to just click on this and delete it. I just hit the delete button to get rid of it. So now we'll click a sketch. We'll choose the center. Okay, now it is chosen, and it has stayed pink, so I know that's the one we selected. Alright, let's add the top of this shape. Now you have to go to the edge to get it. Don't select the whole thing. That's just, but select just enough to get that right there. And look at that. So now if we hit OK, we have our loft from a round to a rectangle shape, just like they do when they build these things. Okay, so far so good. So now the next step is to extend it. That'd be on this page here. We'll extrude an extension to the end 90 millimeters. Alright, let's do that. So we want to, I'm going to select that first. So it's pink. You can see it's pink. I'm going to select extrude and see if it'll let me do that. Oh, it wants me to draw it. Well, here, I'll show you a little shortcut. Remember this project geometry choice? If I go up here and click on project geometry, and I go into center and just select that rectangle, I'll click it here. I've just clicked it. Now I'm going to click finish sketch. See what that did? I didn't have to draw a shape on a shape. I used extend the geometry to draw it for me. Now, of course, that's a little short. It needs to be, I'm going to zoom out a little. It needs to be 90 millimeters. So let's change that to 90. That's what we want. So we'll OK that. Looking pretty good. Let's check our work. Yep, we are at this stage right here. Now we're going to put a 30-degree angle on it. So I think what I'll do right now is hide this plane. I'll just right click on it, go over to visibility, and which will uncheck it for me. And now we need to put a 30-degree angle on this. So the best way to do it is to just click on that flat surface there, click and start a 2D sketch. I'm going to slide it over a little bit so we can zoom in. Slide it over a little bit, and then let's start making a triangle. So we'll choose a line tool. the best way to do this is to start at this corner right here and go straight down. Okay, and then go over some distance, who knows how far, about, take your best guess. Click there and check, make sure we're not drawing lines right now, but we will be when I click on this dot here. Now we are drawing. Click on that dot right there. Okay, and then escape to get out of drawing. And now, since we don't need to know how long this line is, or this line, or this line, all we need is to dimension a 30-degree angle from this line to the end. And that was a good guess. We want that to be 30. Okay, and so being that's a fixed dimension, it changed the angle to 30, and everything else moved appropriately. So we'll finish that sketch. Okay, now that we have a shape drawn on this face, let's hit extrude. And let's change the direction of the extrusion. And that's way too much. What we want it to do is we want it to extrude all the way and then stop. Now, one way you can do it is to say through all. Or the other way is to say to next. Or you can do it my favorite way. Click on to and make it extrude to where I say to end, which is right there. All of those would have worked. But I always worry if I add something to the side for whatever reason and I have select all, that it would continue to run this removal all the way through. And by the way, make sure that you are in cut. Because if you're not, you're just drawing a solid and a solid. So cut is what you want. And usually it does when you reverse the direction, that it automatically goes to cut. But I just want to make sure you know. It's okay, so we'll okay this. And we're almost there, except it's still a great big solid blob of plastic. And the last thing we want to do is shell command, hollow it out to 1 1/4 millimeter. So this will be, I'll just start in this end, it doesn't really matter. So we'll go to shell, we'll choose that face right there, we'll change our 1 millimeter 1.25. I saw it just thicken just now, it thickened it just a little bit. So now let's rotate this around and get the destination. Alright, now I can see right through it. Or should be able to as soon as I hit OK. Look at that, you can see right through it. And that is a vacuum cleaner attachment of your design. It can look smoother if you change under view here, the visual style, to just shaded. Usually it's shaded with edges and you can see the edges. Let's just put it to shaded. There. That looks a little nicer. Okay, that's your project. This would have been a lot harder project, except for now you are experienced. This should actually seem fairly simple. So good luck and enjoy. Have fun with it. And we'll catch you later.